From downtown Detroit, Local 4 Live starts right now.
Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for Local 4 Live. I'm Nick Monticelli, and good morning to everybody watching on Click on Detroit, Local 4 Plus, and streaming us on YouTube. And for those of you listening to us on the go, thanks to the Click on Detroit app. Plenty of conversations happening in our next 2 hours, starting with the political climate here in the country as the FBI looks for the gunman responsible for killing Charlie Kirk, elected leaders taking precautions to stay safe. We're going to talk to a political science professor about the ongoing political discourse in our country. And then a unique approach to supporting the mental health of students by using art to help students feel better and thrive. And if you're heading to Ford Field this weekend to watch the Lions take on the Bears in their home opener, some changes in the rules, what you can and cannot bring inside, and what bags have to be clear. Let's start with the story brought to you yesterday morning here on Local 4 Live. Breaking news out of Port Huron. A father is now in jail and could face charges today in connection to shooting his 3 kids and killing one of them. This happened at the Glenview Garden Apartments. Police say a 17-year-old boy has died. A 13-year-old and 12-year-old girl are in the hospital with serious injuries, and another 19-year-old and son and the children's mother wrestled with the suspect to get the gun away. The father was arrested but has not been charged just yet. An employee with the Detroit City Football Club is out of jail on bond this morning, but he is no longer with the organization. Jarrett Mackey is accused of making terrorist threats. He was arrested last weekend at a raceway in Illinois for making those threats. The club said they found out about it on Wednesday and quickly suspended him before firing him on Thursday. Well, now to an update on the assassination of conservative influencer Charlie Kirk. FBI agents have the weapon, fingerprints, and video, but still no arrest. Investigators have released images of a person of interest. They say the gunman fired a shot from a rooftop and disappeared into the crowd. The gun was found in a wooded area nearby and is currently being tested.
So far,
the FBI
we've received more than
a $100,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and an identification. And here at home, Lieutenant Governor Garland Gilchrist sharing in a post on X, he's thankful he and his family are safe after a bomb threat was made at his Detroit home. This happened yesterday. He's calling out what he calls an escalating pattern of political violence, saying, quote, "The purpose of this violence is to silence, intimidate, and eliminate people and their voices from our society. That won't work on me. We cannot let this remain our reality. We cannot tolerate political violence. We cannot excuse it." Governor Whitmer also responding, saying political violence is unacceptable and has no place in Michigan. As Michiganders, we must reject all political violence and work towards a safer future. Well, the death of Charlie Kirk and the threat against Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, just some examples of the increased political discourse happening in our country right now. Many people are feeling the tension, the frustration, and anger from both sides of the political aisle. So how do we try to move through all of this discourse? Well, joining us to talk about it is a political science professor at Oakland University. David Dulio is joining us. David, thank you so much. Let's just kind of look into history for a little bit here and talk about the fact that political violence is not new in the country, but certainly is something that seems to be more escalated right now.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. You're totally right. We can go back through history all the way back to the founding of our country and before to find examples of political violence. And you know, some of them are woven into the fabric of our country, whether it's the Aaron Burr, Alexander Hamilton duel, certainly the assassination of Presidents Kennedy and Lincoln, but you know, 3 other presidents were attacked, and we've seen it. You're right, escalating in recent years, whether it's former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, Congressman Steve Scalise, and even closer to home, as you mentioned, with Governor Gilchrist or Lieutenant Governor Gilchrist, and the kidnapping plot against Governor Whitmer. You know, there's one thing here that strikes me as different, and that's the fact that Mr. Kirk was not an office holder, was not an elected official, was not a candidate for office. He was really just an activist, right? And those are fewer and far between when we go through history. And I've been racking my brain trying to think of when the last one of those really was. And not to compare the two incidents, but we may have to go back to Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. to find a political assassination of this magnitude.
So, again, not to compare here, but when you look at the ideals of those who carry out attacks like this, people are so far separated now, and I feel like, and maybe I'm wrong here, but even in the history books, when we go back and talk about some of these things, there was always this united front that a lot of these issues were, take civil rights outside of it, were separation was one, but then there was this unifying thing that would usually happen after something. When there's a horrific attack, when something happens, people band together. I don't even know if we feel that way right now.
I think you're right, and I think that is really driven by the kind of information environment that we're living in, and I would imagine that throughout history we could have found some fringe elements that cheered the assassination of Abraham Lincoln or John F. Kennedy, right? I mean, I think, and undoubtedly there were, but they're not as front and center as they are today with social media. And, anybody can go on to Twitter or Facebook or pick your platform and find, these calls for celebration over the assassination of somebody, which seems to be just because of their views.
It's interesting you bring that up too, because of the availability of the information. I have this conversation in my circles all the time. Are we a lesser society now, or are we just seeing it more often?
I think that with the increase of access to information, the increased ease with which we can tap into all sorts of information, whether it be accurate or inaccurate, it absolutely has to be a part of this discussion, right? I mean, it's just more front and center for us. It's so much more easily accessible to find, those fringe extreme elements that and then with access becomes normalization, right? Where and I think it's good for all of us to remember that the online information environment is not reality, right? And to your point, we have seen bipartisan statements from across the political spectrum that denounce the actions taken by this shooter. Even somebody like Gavin Newsom had some very kind words to say about Charlie Cook, right? It wasn't his Charlie Kirk, excuse me. It wasn't his agreement with Mr. Kirk's views, but certainly respected him as a human being.
Yeah. So to that point, we are seeing leaders on both sides of the aisle try to take the temperature down here a little bit. Is that enough?
No, it's not. And I think that, maybe we're at a point now where, or maybe the circumstances have finally crystallized for folks. But, how many times have we seen the reaction of, hey, this is bad, and we have to denounce violence. And, we are in a time where we need leadership. We need leaders to step forward and talk to the American public in a way that is different. And I think it all starts with the bases on both political sides, right? Where extremism or rancor is often rewarded and incentivized on social media. I think that's where it starts. I think we need leadership where both sides call out their political base when they see something unseemly.
I'm curious, I'm a professor at OU as well, so I see some of these conversations at a much different level with the students there. What has your experience been with how the younger generations are seeing what's unfolding right now?
Well, I think that they're in a rough period, and I think that one thing that is concerning, and certainly, and this having been around OU's campus, right? We're not in this cauldron on campus at OU, but we are seeing some evidence, some empirical evidence that political violence is found to be more acceptable by young people these days than in the past, and I think that's a concern.
That's the problem. It's been normalized.
Yeah, absolutely. And beyond, it's okay. It's to the point now where it's it's almost encouraged, right? Or, yeah, that's a good solution to this problem of, hey, somebody has a different opinion than me.
Gotcha. Okay, David, thank you so much. I do want to point out we're just getting some potential breaking news. President Trump is on the Fox network right now, and he may have alluded that the suspect may be in custody. So it'll be interesting to see what happens here, if that's true, and then how this changes. Do you think that with the suspect being in custody, do you think that if we start to understand a little bit the motivation, that might change the conversation or help the conversation?
First of all, I think it's really good news that somebody has been detained and is in custody. It went on for a long time. I think we often make assumptions about somebody's motives, and that can be dangerous, right? As you know, right? We never want to make assumptions. It can work out poorly. So I think that let's see what is uncovered and take it from there.
Right. Okay, David Giulio, thank you so much for your time on this Friday morning. We appreciate it. Okay, it is 8:11 here on Friday. It is a different type of approach to help the mental health of students. We're going to take a live look over in Ann Arbor, where a new art initiative is getting underway. We're going to talk to two of the people behind that project when we come back. Let's get to Ann Arbor right now, where U of M is taking a unique approach to supporting the mental health of students. Michigan Medicine and the University Arts Initiative have launched ArtsRX. The idea is to use the arts to improve well-being. Jason Colthorpe was in the chair the other day talking to two people behind this initiative.
And we're joined now by Mark Clegg, the executive director of the UM Arts Initiative, and Mary Jo Desprez. Did I get it right? Daypre. I should have asked ahead of time. Come on. Wolverine Wellness Director. Great to see you guys here. Thank you so much for coming in. Mark, first tell me about the initiative here.
So the University of Michigan Arts Initiative is basically a campus-wide catalyst for just bringing the arts into everything we do at Michigan, making a real core commitment to the arts in our service, learning, and research mission.
Ms. Daypre, tell me how Wolverine Wellness got involved in this and why it's so important.
So this innovation really looks at sort of some big initiatives at the University of Michigan. Obviously, Mark's the Arts Initiative, sort of clinical interaction, and then sort of connecting that to arts activity. So Wolverine Wellness's job is to be that connector role when we have a referral and we want to get somebody to an arts experience. They're going to help fill that role.
And this is all about improving mental health.
Well, it's really about a thriving community in all dimensions. I mean, we want our students to be enormously successful, but also lead really meaningful and sort of engaged lives. And one of the things, there's actually research from all around the world that shows that the arts are really part of that thriving, successful life. And so we have this amazing medical system at the university. We have this amazing sort of arts treasures, University Musical Society, the museum, the School of Music, Theater, and Dance, the Arts, Stamp School of Art and Design, our Taubman School of Architecture, LSA has all sorts of arts. So, putting all that together and just making the connections between Wolverine Wellness, our mental health sort of support, and then really the needs of our students and our faculty and staff.
Well, how does it, from the student perspective, or whoever is benefiting, how does it work when you talk about all these art activities?
Want to jump into that? Or?
Yeah, and so I think what will happen is for this pilot study that we're going to do in the fall, we're really addressing data that says our students are experiencing loneliness and isolation. And so when a student for this pilot indicates loneliness or isolation, they then will be offered this arts prescription or ArtsRX. And
I like that, arts prescription. I like that sound of that.
And so it's using non-clinical community experiences, and in this case, art, to provide that connection. And then the experiences themselves are intentionally creating connection opportunities so that students will be able to sort of access it with a coach. So somebody for them to sit down and say, what do you want to do? So some might want to do dance, some might want to do music, some might want to build pottery. So that arts connection will help them do that.
And we're not just sending them to an arts experience, we're actually doing meetups. So we're bringing students together, and then they're doing this stuff as a community. So they're meeting other students. We did a study that showed that the basic reason why students weren't participating in campus activities like the arts was they didn't have somebody to do it with. So it was sort of circular. They felt alone, but they didn't want to do stuff because they didn't have someone to do it with. And so we're creating meetups and bringing people together. And I think that's one of the magic things about the arts. I mean, you have individuals who are creative, they're writing poetry, they're doing extraordinary things, but it doesn't mean anything until you bring others into the mix, until you create a community. You need a concert and you need an audience, right, to have art happen.
Yeah.
And so there is this sort of natural, I would say, energy around bringing people together around the arts, and that's what we're sort of hoping with ArtsRX.
They need that little push, that nudge. It's like when my kids say they don't want to go swimming, and I just toss them in. I go, yeah, you do. And in 5 minutes, they're having the time of their lives. This has not been done in Michigan yet, correct?
No, this is brand new at the University of Michigan. We think we're the first organization in the state, and we really hope that through the research arm, the partnership that we're bringing between the arts community on campus and our medical researchers, that we actually are able to discover how this works in our state, how it works for our institutions, and that this becomes influential and really inspires many other people to be part of the arts prescribing movement, which actually is international. It's happening all across the United States, but in the UK and Europe as well.
And MJ, sorry, Mary Jo, I feel like
okay.
I know you.
It's like that. It's what my brother calls me.
I feel like I know you so well now. They've gotten good results around the world from this, correct?
They have. So social prescribing is an internationally recognized tool to sort of improve communities or have communities thrive. So the research is really deep. I think what's really fun about this is that it hasn't particularly been done at institutions of higher education a lot. And so we have an opportunity to figure out how to do that really well. And I think it's just like the tip of the iceberg maybe, because there is also nature RX prescribing, there's movement RX prescribing, there's other kinds, and so this will really inform, I think, the tip of the iceberg of lots of experiences, non-clinical experiences that can really help people.
How do they get involved?
Well, they get involved by coming to the Arts Initiative website, arts.umich.edu, and you can sign up. There's two ways to get involved. One is this pilot study that Mary Jo talked about. Another is actually what we call self-prescribing. So we're going to advertise certain arts events. And in fact, we have a giant campus arts festival coming up September 25th through October 26th. Hundreds of events in visual art, theater, dance, music. And so people can get involved and basically go to these events. You can self-prescribe. We know that the arts are good for you. They're not only beautiful, they're something that helps you grow, it helps your wellness, it just helps you connect with your community, it helps your quality of life, meaningful life, and we just want to send that message to everybody and have them jump into the arts.
My college humanities class, I remember dreading having to go to the library and look at all this art. And I loved it. I couldn't get enough of it. I thought, I had no idea I was so interested in all these things. But so this is a big opportunity. We really hope this goes well, and it could lead to much bigger things, right? In the future.
That's our hope. We want to be sort of the international leader in social prescribing and arts prescribing, nature RX, movement RX. There's so many ways that if you get involved in your community, you take advantage of the arts, you're going to lead a more fulfilling life.
Well, no pressure, guys. I'm sure it's going to go fantastic. I love that you were able to share it and let people know how to get involved. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Let's get back to Nick.
All right, Jason, thank you much. When we come back, we're going to check on your forecast, and we're going to have an update on that breaking news involving President Trump and his statements about someone being in custody for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We'll be right back. All right, that breaking news within the past 10 minutes, President Trump told Fox and Friends a suspect is in custody in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The president says the tip came from a minister who passed information along to U.S. officials. President Trump saying, quote, "I think with a high degree of certainty we have him in custody." We're going to continue to follow that breaking news and let you know as soon as we learn more about this person that is in custody. Let's switch gears and look at your forecast with Ashley for Friday Night Football. Hey, Ash.
Today's forecast throughout the afternoon, we're rising into the low 80s, so the summer feel in the air, mostly sunny skies in the forecast and definitely above average temperatures. So we take that into your Friday night football games. Local 4 game of the week, Rochester Adams against West Bloomfield. But this forecast would be conducive to all of the games across town. 74 degrees for that kickoff, upper 60s by game's end. So we're cooling off slightly, but still, I would say pretty much t-shirt weather for high school football. We're going to keep warm through the weekend, but then we're adding just the minimal rain chance in the forecast for Saturday. So as we zoom through this computer model data, I'll stop the clock between about 12 and 1. And that's where we do get this light passing shower. Now, the green would indicate just kind of a lighter precip. We're not looking at really heavy rain. But right now, it looks as if it could be around Livingston, Washtenaw, Wayne County on south. I'm going to really point out Washtenaw County because during this time, there's going to be a game going on in the big house. So you might see a little shower passing by for the Michigan game. But by 3, a lot of this has pushed east and fizzled out. And so if we do see this come to fruition, well, then you get that little light passing shower, but still not everyone sees it. And in fact, that's still not a slam dunk that we get that rain. So just a heads up. Pack that little poncho in your back pocket if you're heading inside the stadium. But if we get the rain, it'd be nice if we could push it just a little farther north, let's say about M59 northward, because on our drought monitor, we do have dry conditions that are being reported as you work your way closer to the Thumb region. So talking more about college football, noon kickoff, Central Michigan and Michigan. I'm going to put that slight chance for a shower. Otherwise, it's a pretty pleasant tailgating window there in the 70s throughout the morning. 82 by game's end because by game's end, we're at the peak heat of the day. Similar temperature off in East Lansing for kickoff. Later kickoff, 3:30. Michigan State taking on Youngstown State. And you have that slight chance for that passing shower throughout tailgating, but it will be dry and a warm afternoon for the game over at Spartan Stadium. Temperature outlook. So over the next 6 to 10 days, we will be well above average. And really the above average trend is going to take us through the end of the month. But as we compare temperatures to average highs, by Sunday, given that we've bumped the forecasted highs up a bit, now that we're staying dry Sunday, we are almost 10 degrees above that average. And so I know it's apple orchard season, but it feels like we are in the middle of summer. So mid 70s are where we should be. We're looking at low to mid 80s as we extend all the way into a good chunk of next week. So right now I'm just keeping that a slight chance for Saturday. And that's just, I want you to be prepared in case you get that passing shower, but don't plan on it being a washout. We dry out Sunday. We stay pretty dry throughout next week. Highs in the 80s. Overnight lows are still on the mild side, mid 50s, right around 60.
All right, thank you so much, Ashley. When we come back, we're going to have a Local 4 News update on TV. And then at 8:30, we're going to get ready for the home opener for the Detroit Lions. A look at how the players are getting ready to take on the former offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson. And if you're heading to Ford Field, what you can and cannot bring into the stadium. Good morning, everybody. I'm Nick Monticelli with breaking news in the Charlie Kirk case. A short time ago on Fox News, President Trump said with a high degree of certainty the suspect in the killing of Kirk has been caught. Kirk was shot as he spoke to a crowd at Utah Valley University. On Wednesday, federal investigators and state officials released photos and video of the person they believe is responsible. Well, why don't you flip over to Local 4 Plus and join us where we're going to continue to follow any new updates in that investigation. We're also hearing from the Lions as they get ready to take on former offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears, the Bears, plus advice that kept a generation of women from getting the help they deserve. Our Kimberly Gill breaking down myths about menopause. And finally, it's a community dinner aimed at addressing youth violence in Detroit and resources available for families. Ash is going to have your forecast in just a few minutes here on Local 4, a live look at Ford Field.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Please take a seat, everybody. We're going to have some fun tonight. I just want to say this is...
That breaking news coming in right now as President Trump is saying that a suspect has been caught. He said on Fox and Friends, quote, with a high degree of certainty that suspect is now in custody, making that announcement on Fox News. Kirk was shot as he spoke to a crowd at Utah Valley University on Wednesday. Federal investigators and state officials released photos and video of the person they believe is responsible. We are still waiting to learn more about the suspect and details of the arrest. We're going to bring you anything we get throughout this streaming show here. Well, in the meantime, welcome back to Local 4 Live, everybody. It wasn't the way we wanted to kick off the season, but we are underway with the NFL season. Now, in just a couple of days, Ford Field hosting their home opener when the Lions host the Bears. The Lions off to a rough start, though, 0-1 for the first time in 3 years after that tough loss in Green Bay. Now they're hoping the home crowd is going to bring the energy to get their first win of the season. The players are a little bitter and hungry for revenge as they prepare to take on former offensive coordinator Ben Johnson. During Johnson's time in Detroit, he created a monster of an O-line. And while there were boos from the fans, players are showing the respect for the new Bears coach.
He's been a good guy, you know, great guy. Taught me a lot how to approach the game. You know, he taught me how to learn the game a lot. You know, we talked a lot. I talked to him a couple times this offseason, just checking up on him and my little guy Luther Burden over there, my little brother. You know, I got hard time over there, so I was just, you know, calling them, and I end up talking to Ben somehow. But you know, I appreciate everything he's done for me. You know, and he's helped me a lot, and you know, that's just that.
I know the fans. Kind of bittersweet feeling of what happened, of how he left, but I think it's going to be, Ford Field's going to be rocking. I'll never really have anything, you know, bad to say about him, just because of what he did for me as a player, what he did for this team. I remember when I first got here as a rookie, he was the tight ends coach. Then they promoted him, I think, to pass game coordinator in my rookie year, and then he was the offensive coordinator. And I feel like ever since, you know, he stepped in that role, you know, I got more catches, more opportunities. He believed in me, he trusted me. So, and just seeing the work ethic that he had, I respect him as a coach, as a man, and you know, I love Ben. But there's two games, you know, out of the year where I want him to fail.
Last check, the Lions are favored to beat the Chicago Bears. But we'll see what happens on Sunday. Now, as a reminder, since it's the first home game of the season, just remember what you can and cannot bring in to Ford Field. Take a look at your screen. This is their bag policy. It shows what bags you can bring in, including a small, clear plastic bag that security can see through. You can also bring a gallon-sized Ziploc bag. And finally, you are allowed to bring a small clutch with a strap that is 4.5 by 6.5 inches. I'll make sure I bring my clutch to the game. While we were waiting for the Lions on Sunday, it's time for some Friday night football here in Metro Detroit. Our game of the week takes us to West Bloomfield, where West Bloomfield taking on Rochester Adams. You can catch all of the action starting at 7 o'clock, streaming right here on Local 4 Plus. The Local 4 game of the week is presented by the State Champs Sports Network. And joining us to talk about the game, we've got Coach Tony Petrito from Rochester Adams and Zach Hilbert for West Bloomfield. Did you bring your clutches, gentlemen? What are the rules?
I'm clean. I don't know what the rules are at West Bloomfield.
No, my wife handles all things fashion related in our family, so I'm out there too.
So good or bad, you can blame her, right?
Yeah, good only.
Good only, yeah. Oh, as long as she's watching. Okay, let's talk about the matchup tonight. I don't want to bring it up, but I have to. Records against each other. At least the last 4 games, you won all 3 of them, right? 3 out of the 4?
No, they beat us last year.
So it's you. Adams wins 3 out of the 4. All right, so going in then, are you looking for revenge, or how do you feel?
I mean, the kids are, but like, you know, year to year, we're just so different, you know, with the way high school football is. You graduate kids and you try to bring new kids up. So, yeah, I'd be lying if we weren't, you know, hungry. It was a great competitive game last year, went right down to the wire, a lot of drama in the last minute. So, yeah, that stuff stays with you, I think. Probably on both sides.
Looking at the last drive of that game, it took almost the entire quarter. That was a long one.
Yeah.
How do you, was that planned, or did it just happen?
Well, I wish I could say I planned it, but my son's the offensive coordinator, Mark, and actually when we got possession of the ball with about 11 minutes left, I said, this would be perfect if we could just go down and score in the last minute. And he made it happen, and the kids made it happen, so I was really, really proud of that moment, because that's the best defense you can play.
Kind of walk us through that, though. I mean, how do you maintain possession for almost the entire quarter?
You got to play clean, and all 11 guys got to be in sync. You have to give or take what the defense gives you, and my son did a great job of dialing it up, and the kids executed. So it was a really proud moment for us, because they're a great team, and it's hard to do that.
Right, yeah. There are a lot of folks watching right now that aren't huge football fans, and I always like to have a conversation about how different high school is from professional, or even well, college is the same ball. That in terms of you lose your athletes after about 2, sometimes 3 years, right? And you're basically rebuilding a brand new team all the time. What is that like?
I can speak to, it's a wonderful challenge, because really the best part of our job is getting close to those kids.
Yeah.
The relationships I get to build last a lifetime, like 40, 50 years. I've been at this for a long time. So the new is great, but also watching the kids develop and get better. If they embrace the culture and the work ethic, the rest of it takes care of itself. So if we can develop that chemistry, then I think we got a shot at being competitive.
Right. Okay. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, in a way, it's refreshing and it's challenging every single year. We're lucky enough to have 5 kids that have played since they're sophomores that are seniors.
Okay.
And they've really taken a great leadership role for us and really are an extension of the coaching staff. So you kind of combine that, and we got our fair share of young kids that are trying to learn the ropes, and it's a unique challenge every single year.
Right.
But the one thing that doesn't change, I know from us, and I'm sure from them, is the standard you keep people to.
Yep.
And it's unique each year. It's a different group of kids, and you try to uphold the same standards.
You lost your quarterback. You lost Rhino last year with a busted foot.
Yep.
He's back now. How's it going so far?
Oh, he hurt his foot the second quarter last week. So
Oh, God.
He will not be dressed tonight. But however, what we coach is opportunity, and it's a challenge. So Nolan Ferris, his replacement last year that took us to the semis,
Yep.
is going to step right in. We totally believe in him, and we're excited to watch him play.
Okay, so going into tonight's game, same question for both of you. It's awkward having both of you right next to each other here. When you look at the film, when you study each other, what do you see, Coach, in West Bloomfield that you want to try to pick apart a little bit?
Well, we need to keep them off the field and keep possession of the ball because they're explosive on offense. They have balance between run and pass. They have some really outstanding offensive linemen. Their left tackle is amazing.
Yeah.
And from a defensive perspective, they're physical. They run to the ball well. So we can't make mistakes. We have to stay in front of the chains.
Yep.
We have to take what they give us, as we try to do always, and make sure that we win in every phase and do our best to try to steal one.
Okay, Zach, same question.
We have a term at West Bloomfield, and it's a compliment. I think Tony would agree. We'll know that. It's like we just call them, they always have Adams guys. They play football at a really high level. They run, they tackle, they buy into their system. At least it's evident on film to us.
Right.
So you have to, I guess, beat them at their own game. They're going to ball control you, and like he mentioned, try to keep possession of the rock. So we have to be a better version of that. You try to get into a up and down game, you're not going to see the ball for 8 or 9 minutes.
Right.
And we just have to, I guess, be the best version of ourselves and trust our scheme and our players and, in the coaching and the preparation.
All right. Now, I'm not sure if you want to answer this considering you're both next to each other again, but any concerns going into the game? I'll start with you, Zach.
Yeah, they're really good. They're really good. They're physical. They're extremely unique on both sides of the ball. So, it's a lot of times week to week you can have similarities in game plans,
Yep.
Offense, defense, even special teams. But, they're unique. So it's hard to prep for and get your guys in practice to give you a good look on scout and
Sure.
things like that. It's really hard to coach them up in 2 days and
Right.
give your defense a look.
Right.
And not only is the stuff unique, but like I mentioned, they got tough physical kids that buy into it. So they do it at a pretty high level.
Right. Okay.
Well, I guess our greatest concern is we have a lot of new kids playing. We have 4 new offensive linemen up front. We have
Yep.
a lot of the starters on defense.
Yep.
We have a couple guys hurt. So the concern is how those other kids can handle that pressure.
Sure.
And we think it's a privilege to have that pressure, and we coach that standard. But how those kids elevate and get ready to play for their teammates is going to be the difference. So we're going to do our best to try to match their intensity and their execution.
Yeah. Speaking of pressure, you've got pressure in a great opponent, but there's also sometimes the pressure of the big lights and the big cameras. State champs are there, local fours. This is a big deal, a big matchup that everybody gets to watch now. Does that add another layer of pressure, or are you able to filter that out, at least for the kids?
I would think in a perfect world, when our defensive coordinator, Mark Morfell, my best friend, he's constantly block out the noise. Like, all that matters is what's happening inside the white lines. And I think if that's what we're emphasizing, it shouldn't affect what's happening during the game if we're doing our jobs right.
But that's a perfect world.
That's the perfect world.
Zach, what about you? Does it add any additional pressure?
I mean, I guess if you think about it, I think it adds great exposure for both programs.
Yeah.
The kids get a kick out of it, and it's one of such an exciting and cool moment that they get to be a part of. Because there's kids all over the state that are doing the same stuff and all over the country. Are doing the same thing, and they've worked hard all summer. Right. So to get the spotlight, like Coach mentioned, it's a privilege. And we've both had kids that have been a part of long playoff runs the last couple of years. So you don't get to that point without going through this at some point or another. So it's something that we know both have guys that are used to it.
Sure. Okay, before I let you go, any tips for the Lions going into the Bears?
Just be themselves, man. They'll be good. They'll be good. Just be themselves. I know they'll get back to it. I'm sure Coach Campbell, had a great week.
Yeah, we didn't see the Lions in Green Bay is what the problem was.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Dan Campbell is the king of chemistry. That's what he talks about all the time.
Right.
At any level of sports, especially in football, chemistry matters.
Yeah.
And this is a week where they need that chemistry to win.
Right. Okay, gentlemen, congratulations. Thank you so much, and good luck tonight. I'm not sure who to say it to. Just put it right down the middle there.
There it is.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Game
Thank
time,
you.
7 o'clock
Appreciate it.
tonight, right here on Local 4 Plus, presented by State Champs Network and Hungry Hobbies. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. We continue to follow that breaking news coming in that in the Charlie Kirk case not long ago, President Trump saying with, quote, a high degree of certainty that the suspect in the killing of Kirk has been caught. He made that announcement on Fox News. Kirk was shot as he spoke to a crowd at Utah Valley University on Wednesday. Federal investigators and state officials releasing photos and video of the person they believe is responsible. We are still waiting to learn more about the suspect and details of a possible arrest. We'll bring you any details that we get throughout this show. Right now, the FBI and Justice Department did not immediately comment to the president's announcement, react to his announcement. A news conference is scheduled for later this morning. But remember, they are a few hours behind us, so it could be this afternoon in our time. A live look in Seoul, South Korea, where those detained during a U.S. immigration raid have been sent home. This is video of the flight landing in Seoul early this morning in their time zone, but technically last night for us. Last week, U.S. immigration and other federal agents arrested 475 people at a Hyundai facility in Georgia, including more than 300 South Koreans. The flight also carried 14 employees from South Korean companies in China, Japan, and Indonesia. Out of all the South Koreans detained, only one decided to stay in the U.S. instead of leaving voluntarily. Let's take a live look at the stock futures board this morning. The Dow and S&P 500 both trending down right now. Investors are trying to wrap up the week on a positive note, but the news from Thursday has them being cautious. How much Americans are paying for goods went up a little more than expected. Also, jobless claims surged to the highest level since 2021, with more people applying for unemployment benefits than predicted. Despite this, investors are almost certain the Fed will cut interest rates after their September meeting next week. We're going to come back in 90 seconds with an important talk. Here's Kim Gill with the preview.
For years, women were told hormone therapy wasn't safe, but doctors now say that advice was based on a flawed study that's kept a generation of women from getting the help they deserve.
After the Women's Health Initiative, there was actually like a 20-year time where doctors were not educated about menopause. And I think of anything, that's probably the biggest tragedy that will perpetuate some of this problem for longer than it needs to be.
How one Troy woman's journey reveals the real story and the difference hormone therapy is making in her life today. Kimberly Gill, 20 years ago, a major study caused millions of women in menopause to stop hormone therapy almost overnight. But doctors now say the science was misunderstood, but it left a generation of women needlessly suffering. It's the Women's Health Initiative study, and it linked hormone replacement therapy to breast cancer and heart disease. The reaction was swift. Everybody was talking about it. In fact, these are some of the news headlines from the early 2000s when that news broke. Doctors immediately stopped prescribing it, and patients stopped asking for it. But now doctors say that study was misunderstood. For Heather Pastore of Troy, the changes were subtle.
Why am I so hot? All of a sudden, I can no longer regulate my body temperature. Why am I waking up every day at 4 o'clock in the morning and I can't go back to sleep? I'm exhausted all the time. Why do I go from 0 to 60 and I start crying at like things that normally wouldn't make me cry?
Her first doctor dismissed her concerns, even suggesting she Google her symptoms. That's when she found Dr. Carrie Leff, a Henry Ford Health internist and certified menopause provider.
And then you had a lot in the way of mood symptoms, you know.
For Heather, that appointment was life-changing. Instead of brushing off her symptoms, Dr. Leff listened and talked through options.
When she brought up hormones, I was like, oh, wait, you know, my mom had hormone receptor positive breast cancer, and I've been told my whole life that that's not a treatment option for me. And that's when, you know, we had the conversation about this is a myth.
What is the biggest misconception that came out of that study?
That hormones cause breast cancer.
She's talking about the Women's Health Initiative, a major study done 2 decades ago. It caused millions of women in menopause to stop hormone therapy almost overnight. But doctors now say the science was misunderstood. So it scared a generation of women.
Yes. So I always say that fear of hormones lives very deep in your heart and deep in your soul. It's become like a dogma to people. It's almost like politics. And so it festered for a really long time, actually over 20 years. And it's not until now that actually things are being reversed and we can kind of talk about why.
Heather decided to try. What changed your mind?
Dr. Leff changed my mind. You know, just listening and trusting her and saying, okay, well, you know, science has we know a lot more now than my mom's been gone a long time. And, you know, we know a lot more now than we did then. And so maybe this is worth exploring.
Today, Heather wears a small estradiol patch that she changes every 3 days. And the difference?
It was kind of a slow recession until one day you're like, for the first time in as long as I finally feel like myself. Like, wow, somebody lifted up this like fog and you feel like you used to. And you look in the mirror and you recognize who's there.
That's incredible.
It really was. And you don't almost believe it. You're like, maybe I was just faking before.
She says the hormone therapy has improved both her physical and emotional health, as well as her quality of life, especially with her family.
And there's nothing else that we do in medicine that makes people this much better in that short of a time. So it's really rewarding. Thank you.
Heather's advice to other women, find the right doctor and don't give up if you feel dismissed.
I would tell them to go and see a doctor, but not just any doctor. Somebody that has training, somebody that's not. I don't want anyone else to sit in a doctor's office and have somebody look at them and go, well, I guess you could Google your symptoms. I mean, talk about feeling discounted. And it already took energy to get there and share all of these personal details and share that you feel crummy and that you're not yourself. For someone to kind of minimize that is really like demoralizing. I would encourage them to go see somebody that you feel heard and feel like they're listening to you. And then together you can partner on what solution.
Dr. Leff says the biggest takeaway is that hormone therapy should be a personalized conversation, not a blanket yes or no. And many of the fears tied to older studies just don't apply to today's treatments, especially for women in their 40s and 50s. Kimberly Gill, Local 4.
All right, Kim, thank you so much. Coming up in our next hour, Kimberly and Dr. Leff are going to walk through several other hormone therapy options, including pills, patches, and other solutions. Well, get ready for some spine-chilling nightmares and a bit of a scream. A live look at Cedar Point next. The adventures that await at America's Rock and Roller Coast, plus a local spot named one of the best haunts in America. Welcome back. A live look at Cedar Point this morning. It may not feel like fall outside, but the spooky season of Halloween weekend begins tonight. Brave souls can experience scary scare zones like Blood on the Bayou and the Clown's Hall. That's producer Mary's favorite one. She loves clowns. For $45, you can ride over 50 thrilling rides, walk through terrifying scare zones, and catch some live shows that'll give you a little extra feel. Or you can pay an additional $10 and dive into the Haunted Maze and check out the new parks attraction, The Conjuring Beyond Fear. Halloween weekends run through November 2nd. Oh, no! They get so much joy out of that. Mary put that in the show because then she knew I was going to talk to her about clowns. And closer to home, it's been haunting souls since 1999. An Erebus haunted attraction in Pontiac was just named one of the top 5 American haunts in the country. Every year, it promises more spine-chilling nightmares inside its 4-story labyrinth of fear and terror. It was named one of the top 5 as the term scarecation starts to take hold in the country, with more people traveling to find the best scares and frights. Mark your calendars. Erebus opens on Friday, September 19th. A live look over Metro Airport right now. Some Delta planes and a couple of Spirit planes over in the corner right there. Ashley has your weekend forecast. Hey, Ash.
Today's forecast throughout the afternoon, we're rising into the low 80s, so the summer feel in the air, mostly sunny skies in the forecast, and definitely above average temperatures. So we take that into your Friday night football games. Local 4 game of the week, Rochester Adams against West Bloomfield. But this forecast would be conducive to all of the games across town. 74 degrees for that kickoff, upper 60s by game's end. So we're cooling off slightly, but still, I would say pretty much t-shirt weather for high school football. We're going to keep warm through the weekend, but then we're adding just the minimal rain chance in the forecast for Saturday. So as we zoom through this computer model data, I'll stop the clock between about 12 and 1. And that's where we do get this light passing shower. Now, the green would indicate just kind of a lighter precip. We're not looking at really heavy rain. But right now, it looks as if it could be around Livingston, Washtenaw, Wayne County on south. I'm going to really point out Washtenaw County because during this time, there's going to be a game going on in the big house. So you might see a little shower passing by for the Michigan game. But by 3, a lot of this is pushed east and fizzled out. And so if we do see this come to fruition, well, then you get that little light passing shower, but still not everyone sees it. And in fact, that's still not a slam dunk that we get that rain. So just a heads up. Pack that little poncho in your back pocket if you're heading inside the stadium. But if we get the rain, it'd be nice if we could push it just a little farther north. Let's say about M59 northward, because on our drought monitor, we do have dry conditions that are being reported as you work your way closer to the Thumb region. So talking more about college football, noon kickoff, Central Michigan and Michigan. I'm going to put that slight chance for a shower. Otherwise, it's a pretty pleasant tailgating window there in the 70s throughout the morning. 82 by game's end, because by game's end, we're at the peak heat of the day. Similar temperature off in East Lansing for kickoff. Later kickoff, 3:30. Michigan State taking on Youngstown State. And you have that slight chance for that passing shower throughout tailgating, but it will be dry and a warm afternoon for the game over at Spartan Stadium. Temperature outlook. So over the next 6 to 10 days, we will be well above average. And really the above average trend is going to take us through the end of the month. But as we compare temperatures to average highs, by Sunday, given that we've bumped the forecasted highs up a bit, now that we're staying dry Sunday, we are almost 10 degrees above that average. And so I know it's apple orchard season, but it feels like we are in the middle of summer. So mid 70s are where we should be. We're looking at low to mid 80s as we extend all the way into a good chunk of next week. So right now I'm just keeping that a slight chance for Saturday. And that's just, I want you to be prepared in case you get that passing shower, but don't plan on it being a washout. We dry out Sunday. We stay pretty dry throughout next week. Highs in the 80s. Overnight lows are still on the mild side, mid 50s, right around 60.
Ashley, thank you much. We continue to follow that breaking news on the murder of Charlie Kirk. President Trump says a suspect is in custody. The FBI expected to give an update in the next few minutes. We'll bring that to you live. We've also seen a lot of violence involving children in the past few months in Metro Detroit. Up next, a group trying to bring an end to it through meals. And do you know how to take your own blood pressure? A new study says most people don't. So Dr. McGee is joining us to show you how to do it the right way.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Hi, everybody. Out to that breaking news. An update is supposed to be happening any moment now. Officials talking about the assassination of Charlie Kirk shortly after President Trump said that a suspect is in custody. There is supposed to be a press conference with the FBI any moment now. In fact, it's happening now. Let's listen in. That's actually somebody giving a microphone check and not somebody giving the official announcement, which is normal. A lot of times you'll have a technician or somebody from another TV station just up there checking the microphones. As soon as they do start to give us that update, we will bring it back to you live right here on Local 4 Live. In the meantime, let's take a live look in Utah, actually at the White House right now. We are expecting to get some updates from either the president or federal leaders on what is happening in that area and what circumstances we might find out surrounding what happened. Kirk was known with speaking for students on college campuses and made stops here in Michigan. Our Lauren Kostick reports on the shock that political activists in our state are feeling right now.
Just last year, Charlie Kirk made a stop here at Huntington Place in Detroit. He also made a stop at Michigan State University in East Lansing back in April. And the organizer of that event tells me it was very similar to the one held in Utah. The death of Charlie Kirk sending shockwaves through the political community. The activist was the founder of Turning Point USA and built a following by visiting campuses to debate students on conservative issues, influencing many young Republicans, including Krish Matharani.
Charlie made it normal to, be active in politics, made it cool, and made it something that people should be more interested in.
Matharani is the youth chair of the Michigan Republican Party, attending several of Kirk's events, most recently at Michigan State in April.
It had almost 2,000 people there. He got so many people who were excited to, ask him questions, learn from him.
The event was organized by the university's Turning Point chapter. The president speaking to us over the phone.
I really think that is part of Charlie's legacy, that he was so willing to have open dialogue with people who disagreed with him.
Kirk's death is also adding to a disturbing pattern of political violence in the U.S.
And just because you have a free speech right and you make your voice known, that should never, ever result in violence.
Matthew Schneider is the former Michigan U.S. attorney, calling it a threat to democracy, adding that the shooter will likely face a variety of charges.
Whatever it is, I'm certain that federal prosecutors will be able to bring a charge here, and so will state prosecutors. And in either case, it's very likely that the end result could be either a life offense or a death penalty offense.
We also received a joint statement from the deans of both House delegations here in Michigan. They say in part, silencing voices through violence erodes our foundational principles. Instead, we must do more to protect every American's freedom to have passionate disagreement, rigorous debate, free expression, and an open exchange of ideas without the threat of harm. Reporting, Lauren Kostick, Local 4.
All right, Lauren, thank you. As concerns grow over an escalation of political violence, Michigan's lieutenant governor had a frightening moment while he was with his family this week. He said they were targeted with a bomb threat at their home yesterday. Gilchrist said it was a credible threat, but did not share any specifics. The threat has been cleared. Gilchrist making it clear intimidation tactics won't work on him, saying in a statement, the purpose of this violence is to silence, intimidate, and eliminate people and their voices from our society. That won't work on me. We cannot let this remain our reality. We cannot tolerate political violence. We cannot excuse it. And there are safety concerns among elected leaders. We spoke with Oakland University professor of political science David Dulio about this pattern of violence we've seen in the last few days and how we could move forward.
We are in a time where we need leadership. We need leaders to step forward and talk to the American public in a way that is different. And I think it all starts with the bases on both political sides, right? Where extremism or rancor is often rewarded and incentivized on social media. I think that's where it starts. I think we need leadership where both sides call out their political base when they see something unseemly.
You would think the rise in single-click access to information would make people more open-minded to others' beliefs, but Dulio said it's becoming easier than ever for people to fall into extremism, creating political echo chambers where people only see one point of view. He says it's important for everyone to remember the online information environment is not always reality. And again, we are waiting for that press conference out of Utah right now. That is supposed to happen at any moment, with the FBI and officials giving us an update into an arrest and the murder of Charlie Kirk. On Fox News this morning, President Trump announced that a suspect was in custody. You can see everything is set up for an update from the FBI and other officials. Again, as soon as that happens, we're going to bring it right back to you. But it just hasn't started as of right now. But again, once it does, we'll bring it to you live. Well, now to other headlines and an update to a story we first brought to you was breaking news yesterday morning. A family is heartbroken in Port Huron after 3 kids were shot. One of them was killed, and police believe the man who pulled the trigger was their own father. It happened at the Glenview Gardens Apartments on M25 south of Craft Road. A 17-year-old boy was killed. A 13-year-old boy and 12-year-old girl are in the hospital with critical injuries. The police chief says the man's 20-year-old son and their children's mother were able to wrestle the gun away from him. General Motors Coal Engineering Center in Warren is closed after 2 workers tested positive for Legionnaires. In a letter to employees, Macomb County told the GM late Wednesday about the positive tests. While it's not known if those workers got Legionnaires from the center, it will stay closed until at least September 22nd while tests are done. Well, there's an offer on the table for the century-old Flat Rock Dam. In August, the Huron-Clinton Metro Parks Board of Commissioners voted unanimously to partially remove it. However, on Wednesday, they hit the pause button. Now, for $5, the city of Flat Rock can own it. The estimated repairs to partially remove the dam would be between $11 and $12 million. During yesterday's meeting, the Huron-Clinton Metro Parks Board of Commissioners said it would give the city $3 million to build a fish ladder, something city leaders already approved. If the city accepts this deal, it will have full ownership and decide the next steps. Well, if you're taking your own blood pressure, are you doing it the right way? It turns out most people are not, and we know that could be dangerous. So Doc McGee is going to show us the basics, and we continue to watch the press conference out of Utah. The moment it starts, we'll bring it right here to you on Local 4 Live. Welcome back to Local 4 Live, a live look now inside of a room in Utah where the FBI and other officials are expected to give an update on any moment on arrest in the assassination of Charlie Kirk. On Fox News this morning, President Trump said that a suspect was in custody. Again, we're expecting this news conference to start at any moment. As soon as it starts, we're going to show it to you right now, or live. In the meantime, a study released this week finds most online images are setting a bad example when it comes to how to take your blood pressure. Only 14% are showing it correctly. A lot of viewers had a strong reaction to this story. So our Doc McGee is taking a deeper dive into the topic of why it's so important. I do want to point out, though, that if the press conference does start while Doc McGee is showing you this, we will get out of it and show the press conference instead.
Hey, thanks. I'm joined by Sarah Mayberry, my medical producer here at Channel 4, and we're talking about hypertension, specifically a new study that was published in the journal Hypertension that showed 1 in 7 images that can be found online, in stock media footage, that kind of thing, or even on the news, show that blood pressure is being taken improperly in those images. And what that really means is that people who are seeing those images aren't really getting the right message. And that can be important. Even if they're told what to do is correct, or told the correct way to do something, they see the wrong image, it creates a conflict.
Well, and that's actually what happened when the story aired. A lot of people realized, wait a minute, my blood pressure is not being taken correctly when I go to the doctor's office. I'm not taking my blood pressure properly when I'm doing it at home with my home monitor.
Yeah.
We had tons of people who went to clickondetroit.com to download this graphic that has all of the guidelines on how it should be done properly. But I think it definitely hit a nerve with a lot of people. And so I think the question everyone has is, okay, if these guidelines exist, then why isn't my blood pressure being taken correctly if I go to the doctor's office?
And that's a very fair question. And unfortunately, as I reflect on it, in doctors' offices, it boils down to time, and that they're in a hurry, or they're busy, and they don't take the time to sit someone down, have them rest their back properly, sit them in a comfortable position where their arm is appropriate, take off their clothes, or at least undo their sleeves so that their arm is bare, or let them rest for an appropriate interval. There's also the simple, like emptying your bladder. There's a ton of reasons. It's just not convenient. And so we take blood pressures in doctors' offices, and in my case, nurses in the emergency department at triage, they often see patients that just came in off the street, they get their blood pressure taken right away, and sure enough, it's high. The answer is, if it's high, it needs to be repeated, but that's really what it boils down to is time constraints and busy doctors' offices not willing to or not prepared to take the extra couple of minutes, and that's what it takes to take a blood pressure properly.
And I will tell you, when I was pregnant, I mean, you come in from, you race to the doctor's office, you're feeling stressed, you're running late, and they take it right away, and they are talking to you which is another no-no, they're talking to you while they're taking it. And so if that comes up high, like that triggers a whole chain reaction of, well, now you gotta wait around and they gotta take it again, where if you had waited, if you had done it properly, perhaps that wouldn't have come up high.
True, and I will say one important thing is, if your blood pressure on a quick blood pressure check like that is low blood pressures can be an important sign of something bad. But generally speaking, if it's low or normal, it's probably a reasonably accurate blood pressure. Your blood pressure may just run a little low, and it's okay. We're really screening for high blood pressure. So if you are identified as having high blood pressure on a poorly taken blood pressure measurement, and most of the time, poorly taken blood pressures are going to be abnormally high, or often abnormally high, it means that it needs to be retaken. And that means it needs to be retaken after you've appropriately rested, after you've emptied your bladder, because when you have to pee, your blood pressure goes up. And actually, there's an interesting chart from the American Heart Association and the American Medical Association that actually shows if you have a full bladder, your blood pressure might go up by more than, or roughly 10 millimeters of mercury. So it's abnormally high. Crossing your legs, 2 to 8 millimeters of mercury. Clothing has the biggest effect on an abnormal blood pressure. It can raise it by 5 to 50 millimeters of mercury. So, you have to, that means that basically now the office needs to put you in a quiet environment, let you rest, let you empty your bladder, take off your sleeve, and make sure that it's being measured properly over an appropriate period of time.
Well, and talk about the situation, because a lot of people are monitoring their blood pressure at home. If you're not doing it the same every day, when you're taking it, how meaningful are the results that you're getting?
So there's a couple of issues there. The best thing is actually if you can do what we call an ambulatory blood pressure monitoring. That's actually where you wear a cuff essentially all day long and you get multiple readings over the course of your activity. That's actually the most ideal, because that's a good measure of what your blood pressure is doing over the day. But if you are going to measure your blood pressure at home, you do need to do it the same way every day. And I say the same thing about measuring your weight. If you're measuring your body weight, you need to do it the same time every day, with the same amount of clothing on, the same amount of general hydration, whatever. I mean, so if you do it first thing in the morning or before bed, whatever. But the similarity or repetitiveness over time is really important. So if you're measuring it at home, you need to make sure that you are doing it at the same time, that you are relaxed, that you are in an appropriate position, that you are appropriately, undressed really, and that you're using a cuff that's reliable.
Did you want to show the right steps real fast before we have to go?
Well, you know, so the thing I would say about this is a manual blood pressure cuff, and so I'm maybe showing my age. But rather than measure your blood pressure, the things I do want to mention though is that making sure that your cuff and your either gauge, or if it's an electronic blood pressure monitor, are actually properly calibrated. You do need to check that. Now, most of the home blood pressure monitors, for example, it's actually hard to calibrate them. So hopefully it came to you from the factory correctly calibrated. But the most important thing that you do have control over is the size of the cuff. It needs to actually be not too big and not too small. And we see this all the time in the emergency department, actually. We use the cuff that's handy, and it needs to be at least 2/3 of the distance from your shoulder to the crease of your elbow. So it needs to be, you know, that's about the right size. And it needs to wrap around your arm at least 40%, or it needs to be at least 40% the length, the circumference of your arm. The point there is too small or too large a blood pressure cuff will give a false reading. And it's really at the extremes. So an average blood pressure cuff is made for an average human being. If you are very large, even if you're, you know, whether you're obese or muscular, you need a different size blood pressure cuff. And similarly, on the other side, if you are a child or you're very small, you have very thin arms, you need a different blood pressure cuff. So that's the biggest mistake that I see, is not using the proper cuff size.
I will say, when I went with my mom to the doctor the last time, they actually did go to get a smaller cuff because she is very thin.
Right.
But that usually didn't happen, so.
Yeah, that's not a super common thing because really, and a lot of times people don't necessarily stock them properly. So you just have to have the right thing available. But that's the biggest thing that's within your control. Even if you buy one for your home use, you may need to get a different cuff that is sized properly for you.
So if you go to the doctor's office and they start, you know, trying to do it with your sweater on, or you know, you've got your legs crossed, or you're sitting on the table and your legs are dangling, what should you do? How do you say, hey, can we do this differently?
Yeah, well, so you can let them take your blood pressure incorrectly, if you will. And again, if it's normal or low, it's probably okay. But if they take it incorrectly and you know it's incorrect and it's high, you definitely want to say, can you retake it more correctly to see and verify that it is actually high. You don't accept a high blood pressure that is taken poorly, because there is a good chance that you might end up on blood pressure medications that you don't need, for example. So that's a very important element. But really, you know, I mean, if you know that it's something that you can control while your blood pressure is being taken incorrectly, you should just control it. So, you know, if it's, I need to go pee for a second before you take my blood pressure. I need you to, you know, make sure that my arm is relaxed, or I need to, let me just take my sleeve off here so that you can take it against my skin directly. Those are the kinds of things that you might interrupt them for. But otherwise, if it's a normal blood pressure, you can probably just accept it.
All right. And again, this is available at clickondetroit.com, so you can print it out, look it over, make sure you're doing it right, make sure your healthcare providers are doing it right, so you can get the most accurate reading.
Yeah, and that's what's also ultimately important. And also, if you do have high blood pressure, I do encourage people to get a home blood pressure monitor, because it is a good idea over time to see what your blood pressure is doing and record those numbers and give them to your doctor. So, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you, Doc. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Sarah. When we come back, Ashley has some good news that will keep your blood pressure pretty low in terms of forecast. The sunny stretch of weather keeps going this weekend with a slight chance for showers as you look live over DTW right now. We are continuing to follow breaking news out of Utah, where a suspect is likely in custody for the assassination of Charlie Kirk. There's a reporter from another news outlet that is using this camera, but as soon as that press conference starts, she'll move out of the way and you can listen to the officials. On Fox News this morning, President Trump announced the suspect was in custody. Sources are telling NBC News the suspect is a 22-year-old man from Utah, where again, we're expecting that conference to start any minute. As soon as it does, we'll bring it to you live right here on Local 4 Live. In the meantime, let's get a check on your forecast with Ashley Barrissey as you look live over downtown Detroit right now. Hey, Ash.
Today's forecast throughout the afternoon, we're rising into the low 80s, so the summer feel in the air, mostly sunny skies in the forecast and definitely above average temperatures. So we take that into your Friday night football games. Local 4 game of the week, Rochester Adams against West Bloomfield. But this forecast would be conducive to all of the games across town. 74 degrees for that kickoff, upper 60s by game's end. So we're cooling off slightly, but still, I would say pretty much t-shirt weather for high school football. We're going to keep warm through the weekend, but then we're adding just the minimal rain chance in the forecast for Saturday. So as we zoom through this computer model data, I'll stop the clock between about 12 and 1. And that's where we do get this light passing shower. Now, the green would indicate just kind of a lighter precip. We're not looking at really heavy rain. But right now, it looks as if it could be around Livingston, Washtenaw, Wayne County on south. I'm going to really point out Washtenaw County because during this time, there's going to be a game going on in the big house. So you might see a little shower passing by for the Michigan game. But by 3, a lot of this has pushed east and fizzled out. And so if we do see this come to fruition, well, then you get that little light passing shower, but still not everyone sees it. And in fact, that's still not a slam dunk that we get that rain. So just a heads up. Pack that little poncho in your back pocket if you're heading inside the stadium. But if we get the rain, it'd be nice if we could push it just a little farther north, let's say about M59 northward, because on our drought monitor, we do have dry conditions that are being reported as you work your way closer to the Thumb region. So talking more about college football, noon kickoff, Central Michigan and Michigan. I'm going to put that slight chance for a shower. Otherwise, it's a pretty pleasant tailgating window there in the 70s throughout the morning. 82 by game's end because by game's end, we're at the peak heat of the day. Similar temperature off in East Lansing for kickoff. Later kickoff 3:30. Michigan State taking on Youngstown State. And you have that slight chance for that passing shower throughout tailgating, but it will be dry and a warm afternoon for the game over at Spartan Stadium. Temperature outlook. So over the next 6 to 10 days, we will be well above average. And really the above average trend is going to take us through the end of the month. But as we compare temperatures to average highs, by Sunday, given that we've bumped the forecasted highs up a bit, now that we're staying dry Sunday, we are almost 10 degrees above that average. And so I know it's apple orchard season, but it feels like we are in the middle of summer. So mid 70s are where we should be. We're looking at low to mid 80s as we extend all the way into a good chunk of next week. So right now I'm just keeping that a slight chance for Saturday. And that's just, I want you to be prepared in case you get that passing shower, but don't plan on it being a washout. We dry out Sunday. We stay pretty dry throughout next week. Highs in the 80s. Overnight lows are still on the mild side, mid 50s, right around 60.
All right, Ash, thank you so much. Let's go to Hollywood for a moment on our Friday for a major story developing in the entertainment industry. 2 storied Hollywood studios could be coming together as one, bringing some of the best known brands under one roof. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. New details in a Colorado school shooting that left 2 students hurt and a gunman dead. Authorities revealing the shooter was radicalized by an extremist network. 16-year-old Desmond Holly was identified as the student who opened fire at Evergreen High School this week. Authorities got search warrants for his home, phone, and locker, and says his parents are cooperating with the investigation. The motive for the shooting still unknown. A federal appeals court ruled the Trump administration can stop Medicaid funding from going to Planned Parenthood, at least for now. The court ruled the administration can halt the funding while appeals continue over the legality of the section of Trump's signature tax bill that restricts Medicaid funding. A lower court previously blocked the administration from cutting funding. The Trump administration argued the congressionally approved law should go into effect while appeals courts weigh it. And now to what could be a major shakeup in the entertainment industry. The new owners of Paramount are considering a bid for a rival media company, Warner Brothers Discovery. If that happens, it would unite some of the best-known entertainment brands under one roof. Things like Superman, SpongeBob SquarePants, Star Trek, The Matrix, and 2 major news networks, CBS News and CNN. Analysts say this could start a bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery. Comcast, Amazon, and Netflix are also apparently interested. Well, coming up after the break, the effort to bring down violence in our communities, how one group is building stronger bonds.
Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Please take a seat, everybody. We're going to have some fun tonight.
Hearing from President Trump that an arrest has been made, and that suspect is a 22-year-old from the Utah area. We are waiting to get more information from the FBI and other investigative agencies. We can show you live pictures inside the press room there as we're waiting for that briefing, but there are other agencies there, news agencies. So as soon as that press conference begins, we'll bring it to you right now. At any moment, this is going to start. But again, that reporter standing in the way of the podium there. As soon as FBI or other officials get to that podium, we will cut into what we're doing here so you can hear what they have to say live here on Local 4 Live. In the meantime, we're going to get to some other news and other headlines here throughout our metro area. 2 of the 7 church locations, Triumph church locations in Michigan, owe nearly $30,000 if we can get off of this shot and over to the next story here, in water and sewer bills. Now, the church's leader, Solomon Kinlock Jr., is running for the mayor of Detroit, raising questions about his fit to lead. The debt is coming from the Joy Road and East Grand Boulevard locations, but they are not alone. Over 35,000 Detroiters are also owing the water department and are on those payment plans. Well, disturbing charges against a former school crossing guard this Friday morning who admitted to police he had a sexual relationship with a 13-year-old girl. Someone called Monroe police about an older-looking man having intimate contact with a younger female inside of a car near the MLK Jr. pedestrian bridge. A detective found 23-year-old Timothy Warthen in the car with the minor. Police say Warthen admitted he was having a sexual relationship with the girl. He also said he worked part-time as a crossing guard for the Ida Public School District. Warthen is charged with third-degree criminal sexual conduct. And the Detroit City Football Club firing an employee for allegedly making terrorist threats. Police say Jared Mackey faces 11 felony counts in Madison County, Illinois. He was taken into custody at the Worldwide Technology Raceway on Saturday. He is in jail. The club says they learned about the arrest Wednesday and immediately removed him from all club activities. DCFC has not been contacted by law enforcement, and the organization says they are watching that situation. 9:31 here on Friday. It has been a rough summer in terms of shootings and violence in Detroit. Several incidents affecting young people, and today we want to focus on a group that is working on some solutions. We're talking about the Center for Youth and Families. It's a nonprofit working trying to strengthen neighborhoods in Southeast Michigan, reduce violence, and bring communities together. This month, the center has been hosting a series of community dinners, and they're serving up much more than a meal. Jerry Fisher is here. She is the CEO for Youth and Families. For those who haven't heard about your center, can you just kind of give us an idea of who you are and what you're trying to accomplish?
Sure. We have been around for 26 years, and we work primarily with those youth that are justice involved.
Okay.
Or we also have prevention programming to prevent youth from either entering into the foster care system or the juvenile justice system.
Okay. So the idea behind kind of community meals, what is this and how did it start?
Well, it came about as an idea when we had a forum about the anti-violence and about the crime that was occurring. And from that came the community saying that we wanted to meet and talk about more the ideas that we have. And for us, there's no better way to meet than you break bread.
As you break bread, absolutely. We all have to eat.
You have to eat. And, you know, also, at least at my house, you know, growing up, dinner tables were the place where you had a lot of discussion. You know, some would say arguments, but we called them discussions.
Heated discussions.
Heated
sometimes.
discussions.
There you go, yeah.
And so we wanted the same for our communities, to have the opportunity to express diverse, you know, ideas and to be able to come up with some creative solutions. You know, we want to kind of go to the root of the problem.
So how many dinners have you had so far?
We've had one so far.
Okay. How did that go? What discussions did you have?
We had some discussions around primarily just what are some of the causes and what are some of the things that the community can do.
Okay.
It was in the New Center area, so that community is different than our other two communities. Yep. We'll be having a dinner in Highland Park at Revival Tabernacle this coming Thursday, and then we will be having one in Peace Baptist Church, which is in Hamtramck, on the 24th.
So what's the goal then? Are you hoping to have these conversations, kind of infiltrate some of those discussions into some minds and maybe spur some different thought processes on what we should be doing?
Yes. I want to just thought processes, but what are some solutions we can start putting into place that may start, you know, going to the root of the violence within these communities? And, you know, I mean, we've seen this, you know, this week. The violence isn't just within our communities.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. And, you know, I believe we have to have more of a national discussion as to, you know, what is causing the violence and how can we begin to teach our children that violence is not the solution to disagreements or to, you know, things that they don't, you know, like about one another.
Well, and that's part of the problem too, is that, you know, when you and I were growing up, you got in a fight with somebody, you yelled at each other, you know, maybe you got in a fist fight, you shoved each other around. I'm not saying that's okay,
right,
but that's what we resorted to. Now, nobody thinks twice before just pulling a gun and shooting somebody.
Right. And nobody thinks twice about if, you know, you cut them off by accident of then getting mad. And so, you know, part of it is we just need, you know, to help them also learn how to resolve conflict without doing that, but then also how to have a restorative justice approach where I can repair that relationship with the person that I've harmed.
Gotcha.
So I think it's two-pronged.
I do want to put the information up on the screen about the upcoming community dinners. We've got 2 of them coming up. The next 2, one, as you just mentioned, next Tuesday in Highland Park, another one on September 24th in Hamtramck. They're running from 5 o'clock until 7 o'clock at night. As I understand it, they're open to anybody who wants to come together to talk about things. Do you need to register, or can you just show up?
You can just show up.
Just show on up. Very simple to do. Okay, Jerry, thank you so much for coming in. I do want to point out that more information is on their website. That's at the Center for Youth and Families.org. Jerry, thank you again for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, when we come back, we're going to keep checking on that breaking news to see if there is any update from the podium in Utah, if we're going to hear from the FBI during the show. Also, it's something so many women are silently suffering from. Kimberly Gill is going to have a conversation about menopause and a look at hormone replacement therapy options that are out there for women. Welcome back to Local 4 Live. A live look now inside of this briefing room in Utah, where another reporter, again, currently standing from another news agency. We were just told from somebody who went up to the podium that they have, quote, no update on the start time of this press conference. So it could happen at any moment, but they did say they would give us a 5-minute heads up. So we are kind of in a holding pattern here. At this point, I'd be surprised if we get this update during this broadcast, this streaming show here. If it does happen, we will, of course, will bring it to you. If not, we're still going to stream it so you can watch it anytime here on Click on Detroit and on Local 4 Plus. In the meantime, in our last hour, Kimberly Gill brought us a conversation on menopause and hormone replacement therapy. Doctors say HRT should be a personalized conversation, not a blanket yes or no. Doctors walked our Kim Gill through the treatments, the pills, the patches, creams, the gels, and so much more.
This is what hormone therapy looks like. It's not just one patch or one pill. It's a range of options. And you have to remember what works for one woman might not work for another woman. I'm joined here with Dr. Carrie Leff. She's a physician at Henry Ford Health, and she's going to walk us through some of these options. Let's start here with systemic hormone replacement. What is it and what does it treat?
So these are systemic products and they're individual, so they're broken down. Some of them are just systemic estrogen and then progesterone. Again, remembering that women with uterus are going to be taking both estrogen and progesterone. The most common thing that we prescribe is transdermal estrogen patches combined with oral micronized progesterone, which is bioidentical progesterone. That can come in the form of a patch. Transdermal estrogen can also come in the form of like a little gel packet. Or in the form of an oral pill. Progesterone also can come in the form of an IUD, which is something that's inserted into your uterus and can stay there for 5 years. Most people know that it's like contraception, but it can also be used as menopausal hormone therapy. So systemic hormone therapy are for patients that are having systemic symptoms, most commonly vasomotor symptoms like hot flashes and night sweats, but also mood changes, sleep disturbances, other things that happen in the whole body. That's what systemic hormones are for.
And it comes in a gel, a pill, or a patch.
Lots of different ways. You get to choose what works for your life.
Okay. The next category, these are all vaginal methods. Talk about those and what are those treat?
So vaginal hormones are in general like not systemic, right? They're local vaginal estrogen in a low dose, really aimed at treating something called genitourinary syndrome of menopause, which is pain with intercourse, vaginal dryness, or even urinary symptoms.
And our last category over here, these are also systemic hormones, but they are combination systemic. Tell me what that means and what that treats.
So these are all oral products, and they're combinations of estrogens, different types of estrogens, and different types of progestins. And they're all for systemic symptoms in the same way as those are. This also just might work lifestyle-wise for other people, for different people, and they're have some little nuance to them. For example, perimenopausal women, before they reach menopause, often can use birth control pills. And then there's a product here which is very unique, actually, that does not contain a progestin but contains a medication that's thought to lower breast cancer risk.
How do you determine which method is best for which patient?
So I guess the first thing that I do when a patient comes in is really just trying to define where they are in their menopausal journey. Are they premenopause, perimenopausal, early or late, or actually postmenopausal? After we do that, we focus in on what their symptoms are to try and determine what is the best medication for them. If they're having mostly vaginal symptoms, for example, most people can be served with local vaginal estrogen. If they're having systemic symptoms, then we need to talk about either side here.
Absolutely. So what would be your message to somebody looking at this and maybe they're overwhelmed or they feel like they're suffering in silence?
So when you say overwhelmed, I think that this is like the menu of options, and I think it's exciting. Like there's not just one thing out there for women, and that's what we want is choice. We want choice when it comes to contraception, and we want choice when it comes to menopausal hormone therapy, because the same thing doesn't work for everybody. So I think it's great that there's many products here.
This is great because we don't have to suffer like maybe our mothers or grandmothers did, right?
The generation before us was not served well by the Women's Health Initiative, and now that we have better information, better science, I think it's most important that we make decisions based on facts and not fears that are unwarranted. And so if we're on the side of science and understand what we should be doing and consider it safe, then I think we can make good decisions for our health.
All right, Dr. Left, we thank you so much for this demonstration. Just in closing, what would you say to women who maybe don't know that these options are out here? How do they find somebody that can help them?
Women are very curious about their options. They're getting more and more information from news resources and social media, and just know there's a menu of items. There's people that can help. It does sometimes take a little time to find the right person, but women are famous for advocating for themselves, and they are often not shy to speak up. I always say that my menopausal patients ask the best questions, and so just keep advocating for yourself and find somebody that's educated on menopause.
Okay. Dr. Leff, we thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, thanks to both of you. Detroit will have a show in the night sky, but this is a beautiful sight to see too. Ashley tracking the warm weekend that we have coming up. We're going to show you her forecast in a moment. Welcome back. A live look at Wayne State University's soccer field, where a drone show will be lifting off tonight and tomorrow night. This is what it's going to look like. It's 500 drones lighting up the sky, creating stunning 3D light sculptures. And not only are you going to get a show in the sky, it's going to be a unique blend of cutting-edge drone technology with a string quartet playing Vivaldi's Four Seasons. Tickets are on sale right now at the droneartshow.com and the Fever app. All right, the good news is a beautiful opportunity for those drones because the weekend forecast looks beautiful. Hey, Ash.
Today's forecast throughout the afternoon, we're rising into the low 80s, so the summer feel in the air, mostly sunny skies in the forecast and definitely above average temperatures. So we take that into your Friday night football games. Local 4 game of the week, Rochester Adams against West Bloomfield. But this forecast would be conducive to all of the games across town. 74 degrees for that kickoff, upper 60s by game's end. So we're cooling off slightly, but still, I would say pretty much t-shirt weather for high school football. We're going to keep warm through the weekend, but then we're adding just the minimal rain chance in the forecast for Saturday. So as we zoom through this computer model data, I'll stop the clock between about 12 and 1. And that's where we do get this light passing shower. Now, the green would indicate just kind of a lighter precip. We're not looking at really heavy rain. But right now it looks as if it could be around Livingston, Washtenaw, Wayne County on south. I'm going to really point out Washtenaw County because during this time there's going to be a game going on in the big house. So you might see a little shower passing by for the Michigan game, but by 3 a lot of this has pushed east and fizzled out. And so if we do see this come to fruition, well, then you get that little light passing shower, but still not everyone sees it. And in fact, that's still not a slam dunk that we get that rain. So just a heads up. Pack that little poncho in your back pocket if you're heading inside the stadium. But if we get the rain, it'd be nice if we could push it just a little farther north. Let's say about M59 northward, because on our drought monitor, we do have dry conditions that are being reported as you work your way closer to the Thumb region. So talking more about college football, noon kickoff, Central Michigan and Michigan. I'm going to put that slight chance for a shower. Otherwise, it's a pretty pleasant tailgating window there in the 70s throughout the morning. 82 by game's end because by game's end, we're at the peak heat of the day. Similar temperature off in East Lansing for kickoff. Later kickoff 3:30. Michigan State taking on Youngstown State. And you have that slight chance for that passing shower throughout tailgating, but it will be dry and a warm afternoon for the game over at Spartan Stadium. Temperature outlook. So over the next 6 to 10 days, we will be well above average. And really the above average trend is going to take us through the end of the month. But as we compare temperatures to average highs, by Sunday, given that we've bumped the forecasted highs up a bit, now that we're staying dry Sunday, we are almost 10 degrees above that average. And so I know it's apple orchard season, but it feels like we are in the middle of summer. So mid 70s are where we should be. We're looking at low to mid 80s as we extend all the way into a good chunk of next week. So right now I'm just keeping that a slight chance for Saturday. And that's just, I want you to be prepared in case you get that passing shower, but don't plan on it being a washout. We dry out Sunday. We stay pretty dry throughout next week. Highs in the 80s. Overnight lows are still on the mild side, mid 50s, right around 60.
Ashley, thank you much. Ford Field getting ready to host the Bears. Next, to hear how the coordinators are making sure we don't have another repeat of that Green Bay game. Welcome back, everybody. We're continuing to learn more about the suspect in the murder of Charlie Kirk. It's the breaking news we've been following the last hour and a half now. President Trump announcing on Fox News the suspect is in custody. He said that with a, quote, a high degree of certainty. Sources tell the Associated Press, telling the AP and NBC News, the suspect is 22-year-old Tyler Robinson from Utah. The president says someone close to him turned him in. Kirk was shot as he spoke to a crowd at Utah Valley University on Wednesday. Authorities released new photos and videos of the suspect, one showing a person running across a rooftop of a building. A live look now inside the press conference room where we were expecting to get an update from the FBI and other investigative agencies. This is a reporter from another news agency. Again, that was supposed to happen at 9 a.m. It hasn't happened just yet. As soon as it happens, we'll bring it to you live here on Local 4+. In other news this morning, a live look at Ford Field right now with the Lions taking on the Bears for Sunday's home opener. It's a big game because it's an opportunity for the Lions to try to bounce back after the loss against Green Bay. Fans are going to be roaring there as well. It's the first time in 3 years that our Lions are starting the season with a loss, and the Bears are also having a rough start to their season as well. It's also an emotional return for the head coach, Ben Johnson. He was our offensive coordinator last year, an amazing run that got the Lions another NFC North Division title. While in Detroit, his offense featured a lot of scoring and snuck in some trick plays. But the Lions not losing sight of the task at hand, trying to win their first game of the season for the first game at home.
Listen, we're preparing for everything. I know the way he is. Dan knows the way he is. Dan, obviously worked with him. They got some good players. They're a good defense, and Dennis Allen does a great job. He does an awesome job. He gets after it, blitz package wise, especially on third down. They're all disciplined. I know that. They hustle. So the bottom line is, just for us, we just got to go execute.
Vinyl or PVC does not exceed 12 by 6 by 12. It can also be a 1-gallon clear plastic freezer bag, like a gallon type bag, a Ziploc, so to speak. And then a small clutch bag is also allowed to bring your camera, binoculars, or anything else. It can't exceed 4.5 inches by 6.5 inches with or without a handle or a strap. Well, it's time for some Friday Night Football here in Metro Detroit. Our game of the week takes us to West Bloomfield, where West Bloomfield is taking on Rochester Adams. Earlier this morning, I spoke to Coach Tony Portrito of Rochester Adams and Coach Zach Hilbers for West Bloomfield about the different challenges coaches face in the high school and college sports versus pro.
I can speak to it's a wonderful challenge because really the best part of our job is getting close to those kids.
Yeah.
The relationships I get to build last a lifetime, like 40, 50 years. I've been at this for a long time. So the new is great, but also watching the kids develop and get better. If they embrace the culture and the work ethic, the rest of it takes care of itself. If we can develop that chemistry, then I think we got a shot at being competitive.
Right. Okay. What about you, Zach?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, in a way, it's refreshing and it's challenging every single year. We're lucky enough to have 5 kids that have played since they're sophomores that are seniors. Okay. They've really taken a great leadership role for us and really are an extension of the coaching staff. So you kind of combine that, and we got our fair share of young kids that are trying to learn the ropes, and it's a unique challenge every single year. Right. But the one thing that doesn't change, I know from us, and I'm sure from them, is the standard you keep people to. Yep. And it's unique each year. It's a different group of kids, and you try to uphold the same standards.
Here on Local 4 Plus, that game, Rochester Adams at West Bloomfield, the Local 4 game of the week, presented by the State Champ Sports Network. So much more to come here on Local 4 Plus. Guess who's here? Tati from Live in the D to say what's happening on Live in the D. What is happening?
Happy Friday, first of all.
Much better.
Short people matter too. No, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. No, we've got a great show coming up today on Live in the D. Of course, we've got Real Talk, so Greg Russell is here.
Yes, it's Friday.
That's right. He'll get us all set up for the movies that we need to be watching, streaming this weekend. We also have our Shop Small series that we are going to reintroduce everyone to again this week. Jennifer Crawford-Williams, the founder of All Things Detroit and All Things Marketplace, has been with me. So we'll tell you even more about this initiative that she's doing with Live in the D. We're super excited about it.
I remember seeing the list of all the places you could go bar hopping.
Yeah. She knows everything. She's very much like a culture curator at the same time. She's really got her finger on the pulse. Have you ever been to All Things Detroit?
I haven't been there yet.
Okay.
No.
We're talking about 10, 12, 13,000 people show up for that event.
It's so good.
So it's phenomenal.
So good, yeah.
And then there's a talker I can't wait for us to get into.
Okay.
Guess what the trend is amongst parents? You might find this interesting.
What is it?
Landline phones.
Really?
Yep. It's a thing.
Why?
Because they want to more slowly introduce kids to technology, teach them how to use a phone without the distractions of apps and social media, and it's taking off. And a family in Oregon started it, and they showed how they started a landline pod with their friends.
Interesting.
So everyone is like, hello? Savannah Guthrie had one for her kid, and the kid was like, what's that sound? Dial tone.
Unbelievable.
The kid had never heard a dial tone.
I love it. Tati, thank you so much. Live at the D coming up here in an hour and 3 minutes. But also keep an eye on a press conference from the FBI. Will happen any moment here on Local 4 Plus. An update on an arrest made in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.